Is there anybody there?
You could buy a wholesale hat from us for $15. That's going to be 20 times better and sell it for 44. You'll wind up, making a bigger margin, and your customer is going to be happier too.
What's up, Dad Hat crew, and welcome to part one of my interview with the owner of the Lake County Captains, the official hat. Oh, that's right, the company that sells some wonderful, beautiful hats, and then also the Portland Pickles. That's right, the one and only Allan Miller. We had a lot of fun. Okay, we talked about the company, branding, what he looks into hats and design and merchandising, all of that. We go into details in both the part one and part two, so you guys got to stay tuned for both of them. But guys, without further ado, I'll give you the episode. Well, welcome back, guys, to the Dad Hat Chronicles. You guys already know who I am. My name is Ed Rivera, and with me today, I always say this, but guys, I got another treat for you guys. Today, I am being joined, and I'm super happy to have you. I have Allan Miller. If you guys don't know who that is, you guys should know the name. He is the founder of and president of Official League Hat. Also owner of a couple of baseball teams across the U.S. We got the Cleveland Railroaders, the Portland Pickles, and like we were just talking offline, recently acquired Lake County Captains. So I'm very happy to have you. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right, so let's just jump right in, man. I wanted to know, actually, you know what, and I also didn't mention, but you're also founder and president of Collide Agency LLC as well. So you're a busy man.
Busy days, man. We're in the dead heat of the summer right now. We've got a lot of things going on at the same time, so it's a good time to be out there, man. It's fun to be jumping around and seeing all these teams and experiencing all this great stuff.
That's amazing. That's a really hard job, going to baseball games, hanging out with teams and things like that. So, but let's get started. Let's talk about you as a fan. What gravitates you to becoming a fan of sports and, just baseball itself?
Yeah, I think I'm oddly different than everybody else. I mean, I really am attracted to kind of the design elements, the marketing elements, the community elements to it. I feel like I've come into sports sort of from the back door here, from seeing it from a very different perspective than, competition on this. And I'm not a disgruntled old player. I really appreciate it for what the sport is, and I think what we're able to kind of bring out of it. But as I've gotten into it, and I think what's really fun about it is I really love seeing it differently. I see it as I see sports teams often as just great community venues, and how do you change it? How do you evolve it? How do you make it more interesting? How do you get people's attention? We're in a tremendously interesting stage right now where we're going through a lot of changes in sports, and it's exciting to sort of be on the forefront of trying something different every day.
I want to touch on that because that's very interesting. You say that because as far as, the marketing side, right? Like, in social media, how social media has become such a powerful tool for a lot of minor league teams. For example, Portland Pickles, that team likes to push the envelope on what you guys are able to do, and it has worked, but I'm sure it also has come with its own set of challenges as far as what you guys are able to do and not do when it comes to marketing.
Yeah, we got to find out where the lines are, and we're very good at finding out where the lines are.
Really quick.
And every city and every league and every team is going to be a little different. The line's kind of in a different place, and I think we've gotten good at that from the Pickles perspective. I mean, we're always going to keep pushing things, but I think in general, we found our voice. We know who we are, and social gives us a great opportunity to constantly work on that and talk to people and create engagement, and throw things out there that are unexpected. There aren't many teams who have really come out and said like, "Hey, we're about irreverence and fun and community. And I think it's so fun about the Pickles that it works really well. If you wouldn't know, if you just were following social, you'd be like, wow, these guys are pretty crude and
Yeah.
it looks like. But you get to a game and you talk about a family friendly environment. I mean, we're overrun with kids having an incredible time and trying new things and discovering baseball and loving it and growing up and becoming baseball fans. And so it's important to, we're not trying to alienate anybody. In fact, if there was something that we would say about all of our teams, we want everyone there who wants to have fun. That's our requirement. If you don't want to have fun, I don't really want you there, man. You're just ruining it for everybody else. And I think that's a challenge a lot of teams go through, where they just like, oh, I don't really want to tell this person that they shouldn't be here, or we should try to, make them happy. But, for us, it's we've got a vision, and it's been paying off. People are really having a great time. We had an incredible first week of the Pickles season in last week, and it's off to a great start.
Okay, so you like you say, you come at it from the back door, right? You came in through the back door. You're like, let's look at the marketing, let's look at merchandising, let's look at all of that, right? So there had to be a conscious decision of like when you named the team the Pickles, right? Like, I mean, there had to be like many discussions that's like, what is something that's gonna gravitate and is gonna grab the customer fan base.
Well, this is interesting, actually, because we actually, the Pickles, we came into it right after the first season. So we actually weren't involved in that. In fact, it's interesting, a funny story. My partner, John Ryan, and I were in the off season of the first season. We were looking at all the artwork and looking what had been done. And we're like, we're going to have to change this. We're going to have to change the name. It's like so janky and this and that. And, and then we kind of rolled into the first game and we both looked at each other and were like, oh, we can't change anything. This thing is going to be massive if we just keep going in that direction. And so, I think it's also a really good reminder, don't make big decisions, about it until you really get in there and talk to people, experience it, and kind of get a good feel for where you think the brand and the community is going.
So was that the same approach taken with the Cleburne Railroaders at the same time?
Yeah, Cleburne was similar to, we had some different challenges that we went into that team with originally. And especially I think even for Lake County, we acquired that in the off season. And so we've been, we've spent this season learning a lot, being out there, hanging out in the Cleveland area and enjoying that and really listening to people, learning about where we think we fit in the marketplace. This is not a Pickles experience necessarily, but I think there's a tremendous opportunity to create a vibe that's really unique to Cleveland, and that people really want to be a part of. And so we're only 2.5 months here into the season, and there's a ton of great learnings and a lot of success stories and a lot of things we keep building on. But it's a process.
It's funny you say that, because as the moment we heard of the big announcement, right, the acquisition by you guys, and I know personally, and along with other my coworkers, my friends and colleagues in the business, we're like, man, you can definitely tell there was a shift in interaction on social media from before and then when you guys started taking over. I think there was a massive shift in there, and I think it was refreshing. Right. I'm sure it comes with its challenges, because now you are in the, like you said, like those 2 months in just trying to discover it, but you're with an affiliated team now with an independent or a collegiate wood bet. So that, I'm sure the set of rules are a little bit different with Major League Baseball.
They are. I have.
You've been reminded, I guess.
I have been. I have been encouraged by Major League, minor league baseball. They appreciate what we're doing. I mean, they see the engagement. They see the stats. They understand that that certain things need to be born anew. And it's a we go social first, digital first. We can build. We want to show people what we've got there, and how we do that correctly is something we're really is really important to us, and we're very fortunate that we inherited some great people in Lake County who have done an incredible job of taking the new direction and being creative with it and building stories and really upping everything. I mean, if you think about it, a year ago, they didn't have a TV broadcast. If
No.
you go look and find, you'll never see a clip of any of these guys. Where's Bieber pitching, and where, like all these incredible things that every player from the Guardians has gone through here. And we should have stat reels, incredible videos, and all this. And we inherited nothing. So that was for when we went in, we're talking about like, hey, let's get the basics down, getting a broadcast together, getting highlights, getting player features, just the basics. And setting that up was new. And it's been great. But we got to realize, I mean, as of a few months ago, none of that existed. So where we'll be in a year and 2 or 3 years from now is going to be extraordinary.
It's funny, now me living here in North Carolina that's one of the teams that I grew up with, right? When I moved to Ohio from Puerto Rico, is like, I was 10 minutes away from that team, and then I was like, okay, I want to keep supporting them, but like it's very hard to support and know what's going on if there was, like you said, there was no broadcast team to really sit down and watch the game and see what's going on with them. So it's like, it's very refreshing, like I said, that to see that, like, you're going from the ground up and you're building that up.
Yeah, thank you. No, I appreciate that. And that is exactly what it is. I mean, we're starting from the ground up. We're building one fan at a time. Like, we want to, this is how you build community. It's like, hey, you live around, you love this, come and hang out with us, see what we got. Get yourself a beer bat and a giant sausage, and and hang out and try the new mini golf course and go and hang out, check all these new things we're building. And we built a speakeasy, and we built an 80s arcade that glows in the dark at night that you can watch the game. And we're just trying to create a lot of different environments for people to feel comfortable. And we're just, like I said, we're going to keep trying new things, and hopefully the majority of them work.
So let me ask you then, because you said that you go in, you start social media first. I'm sure there is a plan that you have followed, obviously, that you've studied and trial and error and all that with all the other teams. Like, is the first thing, and then what goes after that? Like, what are those steps that you look at into building a brand, rebuilding a brand also?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting place because this is a team that's been there for 20 years. And for better or worse, there's different perceptions of who that team is and what they look like. I mean, from you talk about aesthetics and uniforms, and they've had a lot of different things and a lot of mishmash of logos, and so a lot of that is just kind of cleaning it up and starting, say, from scratch, but starting with like, no, we're not going to use 25 logos right now. We're trying to streamline our branding. We're trying to streamline who we are, what we look like, what our attitude is, what our brand is, what's meaningful to us. And then it grows organically. And I think the organic aspect of it is the most important. You can't force this on people. It's not you don't want to be a flash in the pan. You don't want to be this quick trend and you're in and out. A lot of new teams, when they start out with a new stadium or new buzz, it goes up and then it slowly starts to go down. We're going to make exponential growth. And that's where, from social, from merchandise, from ticket opportunities, it's all starting from scratch. It's building it in the right direction. It's creating value, and just rethinking the whole thing. I mean, there is simple things that just hadn't been changed in 20 years. And it's a process for everyone to get on board and learn and understand how, technology makes things easier. It's not scary. It's amazing. But you got to get comfortable using it to be better at it. And that's a lot of the processes we're just putting into place this year. But we've had, I mean, for Lake County, I mean, the success is there. And we've already had some incredible nights. We've had a lot of viral success. We've had some great crowds as the summer is starting to get rolling. So we're excited to build on it. It's got, like I said, the people in Lake County and all the Cleveland area are amazing. And we're just really excited to show them what we've been up to.
Oh, I'm going to make it up there sometime this summer just so I can, definitely partake into the new era that is the Lake County Captains. And something that I loved and that I appreciated and that I bought as soon as they came out was the original logo. You guys brought it back.
Yeah.
And let me ask you, has that been a success, bringing that one specific, or is like you said, it's like there's just too many, we just have to pick here and there and see what works?
Well, the coolest thing is this is the 20th season we've played in they've been playing in Lake County. So it gives us an opportunity to say, oh, we're bringing back this hat and this hat and this hat and trying this and this. I think collectively, the more people I talk to, they really like the old captain with the bat.
Yep.
That's my favorite mark I think of all of them. And I, at least I think making a few tweaks to that and cleaning it up is a great place to go. There are still challenges with that mark that we'll work towards, but for the most part, I think that's what everyone kind of agrees. And I think from a timing perspective, like, it's a 20-year-old logo. It's really cool. I think people have really positive memories of that. I think it lives today as a really cool nostalgic piece. So bringing it back in different contemporary ways will be really fun. But people have been really responding to that. They've been really responding to our art series for a lot of really cool different art posters and hoodies and that we've been doing with local artists as well. And that actually was probably our biggest seller last weekend was, a design we did with a local artist, which was great.
That's amazing. I love the, and like you said it at the beginning, is the community, building the community around the team, that it does help promote everything else after that.
Yeah, they have to, people have to feel welcomed. I mean, it's just for everything we do. There's always, from a strategy perspective, I mean, I just think that you live in the area and the team hasn't really connected with you in a long time, potentially. And I think that it's our job to be talking to and inviting and sharing with everyone and giving them an opportunity to come back and experience it in a new and improved way. Listen, there's nothing wrong with what it was. I mean, it's fine. It's great. It's great baseball. It's great players. I personally like a different kind of experience. I love the energy of it. I love seeing people come together from all walks of life, putting things aside and just cheering on to a collective goal and team. And we are, that's the beauty of all sports. And we're seeing that. And I think it's just the more community, the more people we reach out to, we keep talking about, the better that will be.
Let me ask you, and are you of the belief that, obviously, baseball is going to be, in my opinion, two things. One, the entertainment part of all what's on the field, but at the same time, it has become, a lot of minor league games has become a social event.
Yeah.
And and that's the part that you are embracing, that needs to be brought up a couple of notches, not just in with your team, but like with all the teams as well.
Yeah, no, I think it's everything. I think our time where, hey, you're in row 8C3, enjoy yourself, sit there for 3.5 hours.
Right.
It's over. It's just no one,
done.
It's like, I mean, I can go sit there, but my kids aren't going to do that. And expectations of generations have changed. And, and it's not a secret that, baseball, you have a lot of baseball fans dying off, and what that does is it creates an opportunity to kind of rebrand what the rules are. And, we used to, we don't get it as much anymore, but for a few years in Portland, we'd get people being like calling and be like, it's just too loud. We really don't like it here. It's too loud. And so we'd always recommend like a boring team down the road they can go check out if they like it quiet. And but that's, I think it's a culture shift. I think people are becoming more comfortable with, hey, it can be a party, it can be a scene, it can be fun. I want all my friends there on a Friday night. That's the place you gather around, and I think that's the key to this is you got to make it, and it doesn't happen overnight, which is frustrating, because you put a lot of hard work in. And like even in Portland, we're just seeing reaping the rewards of 8 years of a lot of hard work to get to where we need to be. And it takes time, but it's cool to see it, man. I'm really proud of the success we've already had.
So let's talk about the because I'm sure this is where you gravitate towards, like, all right, so obviously we're local artists and art and all that. And is that how did you approach then when you started with Official League? I mean, you looked at it from like an art part, side of things, like, we can make, fans of sports still also like art and different forms of, hats and jackets and things like that.
Yeah, I'll tell you, this really came out of a sense of kind of anger, I think, from, there's a couple points where I think from our teams, we were not offered the creativity that we wanted to build merchandise that we wanted to sell. And I think that was the first thing. I don't understand why they can't turn something around faster. I don't understand why they can't do this 3D embroidery. I don't understand why they won't do this. to the point where we really got forced into saying, we have to do it ourselves because we have a very high standard of what we want it to be. And no one's going to do that for us. So we spent, we took a year of just building out our silhouettes. We talk about a dad hat. I said, I'm not a traditional dad hat guy, but we made a dad hat that you can wear as a flat.
Yep.
You can wear it flat or you can curve it the way you're wearing it. And so that was kind of part we talked about innovation. I really wanted to make sure that we could create something that worked for multiple kinds of people and had, lots of different attributes to it that were unique to what we were doing. But I think at the end of the day, what it came down to is that I think every team deserves to have a great hat. I think it's unfair to your fans to have them show up and be like, yeah, here's our cheap ass hat you can buy, or it's hat day. Here's a hat with a Pepsi logo on it. It's like, I don't want that. Your fans deserve great merchandise. They're fans. They're fanatical about your team. Why do you want them to look like clowns? You want them to look cool. And so I think what our goal has always been is, let's make these fans look great. Let's do this for them, because especially for minor league teams, no one's catering to them in a way that I think is really important, to really listen to them and understand, what's meaningful, and we have a really cool collection that we did with the Appy League coming out in next week.
Yeah, congratulations on that. Yeah, that's massive.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I think, we really approach that specifically to say, well, tell me why your city, what's so interesting? What are the moments that make your team so unique? And we brought that out in a lot of different characters and a lot of different, a lot of design elements that are very specific and unique to each one of them. There is no template, like, here's where we put your logo. It's like, well, what is the vibe? How do we create that? And it's a really fun group effort for everyone to contribute to that. And so we're really excited about how that's coming out. And we've got a lot of really fun projects coming. And, it's a really exciting time. It's a really exciting time for us because we're starting to see it moving in a way that people are really like asking for it. Like, hey, I'm a fan of this team. Why are you guys not making a hat for us? I'm like, we're getting to it.
Just give us a time. Give us. Yeah. We got this.
We got
it. So let's talk about that, because you started with a couple teams and then all of a sudden you guys are just, I was like, no, we're not going to do just baseball. We're going to do soccer. We're going to do hockey. We're going to do all these things. It's like, so obviously there's, and I love merchandising. I always love logos, and that's why I have so many hats. What I like about Official League is you guys do something different than the traditional New Eras and 47s, and like, because they got that market. Yep. You have this untapped potential of market right here that hasn't been touched at all.
Yeah. No, I really feel like there's an opportunity for us to do things in a way that others aren't really. It's really not their business model. They're going for volume. We're not going for volume. In fact, everything we do is very, very limited.
I see that. Yeah, exactly. There's there's specific numbers, to each hat.
That's right. And if we make 100, we make 100. And we're on to the next one. We're on to the next one. And I think that is it's a lot more work. It's a lot more work. It takes a lot more time. But when you come from, and like I come from the music space, creativity, artistic involvement, what an album cover looks like, what a concert tour poster looks like. Those are very important decisions. How you present yourself to your audience is really, really important. And I want teams to realize that too. And the good ones totally get it. And they're all on board to do really cool collaborations and really fun, pushing the limit on design. But it's a progress, it's education, it's letting people know. I think a lot of teams don't realize, they're like, oh, we're going to go buy a hat for $10 and sell it for 20, this cheap hat. And I'm like, well, you could buy a wholesale hat from us for $15. That's going to be 20 times better and sell it for 44. You'll wind up, making a bigger margin, and your customer is going to be happier too, because they have a great hat. Like, nobody wants a hat they get in the car and they fling it in the back seat. Like, I'm never going to wear this again. But when you go out there and you spend, when I go out and spend $50 on a hat, I'm all into it. I want to wear it a lot, and I'm proud of it. And it gives me a memory that, oh, I got this from this team, that I did this. And so I think it's a real emotional connection too that we're looking to make with people. And I think it's like we're just on the beginning of this journey, but there's so many new products we're launching this year, and there's so many new teams that are from the biggest teams in the world to the smallest. I think that's what's really fun about it. And it's fun to put, a Sioux Falls City next to a Dortmund and see how their fan bases react, which is really fun.
Which is wild, right? Like you got a Bundesliga team, right? And then, all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, and then we're also making the Portland Pickles, and then, we're making the NPSL and all this other stuff. It's like, I mean, it's like, how do you approach each team? Like, do you go, it's like, all right, do you, specifically ask, to talk to them, or or do they approach you guys? How does that work?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of a few things. I mean, we're in so many different circles for so many different sports and events and things now that a lot of it comes to us. We're always sort of we're always, like I said, we're always looking at it from a different angle, I think, than most people have. When we look at it and look at a team where it's like, well, what do they not have? I really like looking at it and saying, okay, well, this is your chance to do something that the owner's never going to let you do on your own, and we'll figure out how to do something really cool. Whether that's a nylon or corduroy or a pillbox or just something random, it should be a marketing moment. And I think that's a lot of the difference when we launch these hats. We want it to make a big difference. We want to make a splash. We want to create some interest and energy, and that's why social for Official League is also very important. And we're seeing that. We're seeing as teams come around to understanding how to do it. We had a great release with the USL team, the San Diego Loyal.
Yep.
Weeks ago, and they are very good at what they do and understanding this, and they put 100 hats on sale game day in arena only, and people ran to the merch booth and they sold out in 30 minutes. And that's just a really good example of how do you take your fan base and build demand and build interest. They were like hundreds of other people that wanted it and they couldn't get it, and now they have to wait for the next one, which is great, but it really creates interest. And especially if your challenge is how do you get the people to the park earlier, it's not giving away 1,000 hats. You can actually do it by making money.
It's an interesting concept, and I love it because, like, you're telling you, it's like, listen, guys, this is going to be an only in the arena only. We only have 100 of these. First come, first serve. You can have a one-off. Go, right? And it's like, boom, now you got fans in there. Not only are you selling that merch, you're selling more merch, you're selling concession stands and all of this other stuff. And it's like, because the games, with the Lake County Captains, like, they become shorter. So how do you get them there? How do you keep them there?
Yep. Yeah, no, it's all those things. It all comes down to experience. It all comes down to why are you getting there early? some giveaway items do work very well. Some theme nights work really well. I mean, the biggest night we had for the Pickles this year was Pickles Cage Night. And no one knew what that meant. It was just a meme, and we sold out. So I really believe in creativity. I think being unique is being loyal to your market and understanding what your community wants, but doing it in a creative, innovative way. It really, really works. It works for us, and it's one of those things that I think people get scared of because they can be very conservative in nature, and they don't upset people. I'm used to upsetting people. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. If you're upset, there's the door, go for it. We got other things to worry about than just, upsetting one person. That's just the way it goes. And so with Official League, and obviously you do it, there's different aspects, right? Because you can have like some team specific merch, but then you also have the artistic side of that specific merch, and there's only a certain amount. And you guys are getting into that world now of, all right, are you guys doing any on-field hats for certain teams? Are you going to be doing anything else as far as, because I see you guys are doing jackets as well. What is it that you guys are, tapping into next with Official League?
Yeah, I'm really looking at where I think there are needs. I think it's important to look and say, well, what do we think there's an opportunity in the market right now? Hats was the initial piece of that. I think jackets is I'm always looking for the best coach's jacket. I just think that's one of those things where, for some reason, it's hard to do, but they're real. I mean, they're the best. It's one of those, that coach's jacket never goes out of style. It's a basic. It's super cool. So I want to try to reinvent those in some different silhouettes that are really cool. So we've been really working on developing some jacket styles that we think are really unique and interesting. That's obviously a big one. I mean, we're gonna we're going to dabble in a lot of things to see what
love
works. We were dared on social to do hats for dogs. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a dog hat coming out soon as well.
Ah, that's amazing. That is hilarious. I think it'll sell. It will. And that's the thing, that like, you create a need for something and off it goes. So I'm just waiting for more dad hats, and you got me sold though, so don't worry about that. But let me ask you this. So you got this partnership like that you just recently mentioned with the Appy League, and you got these specific teams that you're working with. So how did you approach that? Like, did you go into each team and said, okay, let's talk about what makes you unique, let's talk about what are your needs, what is it that you're looking for in this partnership with Official League, and then what do you want to see going forward?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, it was as simple as, our design teams, marketing teams working directly with the teams to ask them those questions and really say, what do you think? What do you mean from both sides? From a silhouette perspective, like, is there something, a lot of these teams like don't really have, they're not deep in their hat categories. So they probably don't have a corduroy hat, and maybe they don't know that a corduroy hat would work well for their market, and maybe it will, maybe it won't. But there's a lot of kind of, I think, new interesting styles they haven't had the opportunity to do, but more so, I think, from really looking at each one and saying, like, what's so special about your town? What is so great about it? One, like, oh, we're the Christmas city. Oh, well, that's cool. Tell me about why you're the Christmas city. Oh, we do this every year, and there's a parade, and there's this. Like, oh, well, that's interesting. We should try to see how to integrate that into our design aesthetic, and looking at each one in that exact same way, to understanding kind of a little bit more about who they are, what they've done before, where they're going. The cool thing about the Appy League team is they're all relatively new brands, named because they just rebranded. So there's a lot of storytelling still out there for them to tell about who they are. And I'm really fascinated with that league to begin with. I think they've been around 100 years and been churning out an incredible talent. And a lot of these towns are just not places you would normally be rolling through. But they have really cool fan bases. And so I think learning about that history of those teams and who they are and where they're going is fascinating. And it's a part of what I really enjoy about working with them, and working with, with all these teams around the world, learning about Dortmund and being heartbroken on the last day of the season when they lost, and learning about Cartagena and the soccer culture there. And we have some collections from Brazil coming soon, and learning about those teams. And I just think there's a couple things. I mean, it's great to learn about them, but it's also there's a lot of teams around the world that do things really, really well that we can learn a lot from. And so it's fun to learn from them, understand what works great in their business. It gives us more things to try here. And candidly, I take everything from the Mexican Baseball League. I don't think anyone in the world does it better than them. And if we can get to a point where that's sort of what baseball is here, I will be very happy.
Hope you guys enjoy that episode with Allan. Now, well, actually, part 1, right? Because part 2 is coming next week. You can't really listen to it now, but stay tuned. You'll like it. Seriously, make sure you guys are following Official League. They're on Instagram. They're on TikTok. They're everywhere, okay? So make sure you guys are following them. Follow the Portland Pickles. Follow the Lake County Captains. Follow all of those, okay? They are all great brands, and they're doing really good things. They're really looking at sports from a different point of view, right? Like, from the fashion side, and it's really cool to see something a little bit different than your usual New Era 47 and all that. So kudos to them on doing that. So also make sure you guys are following the podcast. Give it 5 stars. You guys already know I go up on the rankings. 1 more 5 stars. Share it with someone that would enjoy this as well. But before I go, you guys already know I got to give you guys the dad joke of the episode, and I'm going to make it as corny as possible, so be prepared. What did the eye say to the other eye? Between you and me, something smells. All right, I'll see myself out. And until then, guys, keep on grinding, and always support the minor leagues. See ya.